Hi, it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Papermaze. And this month I've been working with the Simple Vintage Weathered Gardens collection from Simple Stories. And I absolutely love it, such a beautiful collection, and I'm in love with the papers, the patterns, the colours, the embellishments, just all of it I just think is really beautiful. So you'll have to forgive me, but I've started a little bit of this layout off camera. I've done a little bit of prep work just in the interest of keeping this video and voiceover quite short and sweet, if at all possible. My little boy and I have both contracted COVID-19. I'm not very well at the moment. We both tested positive on Monday. And I left this layout until the last minute, which is just typical. So yeah, I'm trying to do this with COVID whilst coughing quite a bit, so I did some prep work before hitting record. So I started off with cutting some squares from some of the patterned papers. I've used the dark green basil cardstock that comes in the 12x12 basics pack. Love that colour, just brings in a darker shade to the collection. So the squares in the centre of my layout are 3x3 inches, and the ones I've cut from pattern papers to use either side are 2.5 by 2.5 inches. So I've used, for that centre square, I've obviously used that green basil basics. I've also used a square of the 4x6 elements, the B side. And then for the sort of clusters either side here that I'm just getting stuck in place now, I've used the green basics, and then I've used that lovely stripy paper, is called Love You More. Again, that's the B side, and then that gorgeous checkered sort of gingham paper on top is called Cherish Today. Also B side, so it's a bit of a B-sided layout. I don't think I've used any A-sides on this one, and that quite often happens with me. I think I need to challenge myself to use A-sides more. I tend to be drawn towards the pretty B-side patterns too much, really, so maybe that's a challenge for me for next time. So as you saw, I've stuck those squares together, kind of staggering them a bit, just to give them a bit of a shape, almost like a star or a flower kind of shape, just so you can see the corners of the other papers underneath sort of peeking out. And then I've got my square photo in the centre, sort of centrally aligned. Sorry, I'm probably not making much sense today. I feel like I'm all over the place. So I've got those stuck in place. I've popped some foam behind my photo just to help raise that up and help it to pop a bit. I've selected a couple of stickers from the foam stickers sheet to use for my title, the word always, and then I've got the word happy. I think that sticker actually said "Oh Happy Day" and it was in 3 parts, so I've just used the happy part to bring my title together and make always happy, because my little boy is always happy. Even with COVID-19 and being poorly, he's still happy and running around at 100%. You just wouldn't know he was ill, bless him. So I thought that title was very apt, always happy. So you might have seen I moved my title around a couple of times, not sure where I wanted to place it, but I've settled on having it underneath my photo in the centre of the page. And I've pulled out some butterfly die cuts that I'm going to have kind of cascading down through the centre of my page as well. And I actually changed a couple of those out towards the end. I decided they were a bit large, so I've opted for some smaller ones from one of the patterned papers instead. So I've drawn in some pencil lines just behind where my squares of paper are sitting in my photo, because I want to add some mixed media. Excuse me. So I've gone with dry mixed media. I didn't want to get too wet and messy today with my inks. I just wanted something subtle in the background. So I've pulled out my Distress ink in Bundled Sage. I think this colour goes really well with this collection. And I'm just using some blending brushes just to add that colour in behind. I start off with a larger brush just to get a kind of softer colour and just get the area marked out. And then once I decide I'm happy with the area I've got covered, I decide I want a little bit more colour, so I want it a little bit darker. So I pull out a slightly smaller blending brush. I just find that one adds colour a bit darker. So I've got that in place. Just going to get to sticking some bits down now before I go too much further. I do have a habit of building an entire layout and then realising nothing is stuck down and I have to take it all off and start again. So just getting a few bits stuck in place. I've pulled out a few die cuts from the bits and pieces and the floral bits and pieces packs. So I'm just going to layer some of those up on top of those pattern paper squares. And before I got those pattern paper squares stuck in place, I decided I wanted to add a bit more detail to my background. So I've used the bundled sage distress ink again, and I've just watered it down on some packaging and added some splatters with a paintbrush. And then I've pulled out a distress spray stain called Brushed Pewter. It's a lovely metallic silver colour. And I've added some splatters of that too. I think silver goes really well with this collection. There are some notes of grey and almost like greeny grey colours in this collection. So I think silver goes really well. I think gold would also go very well. But today I just felt like going with silver. So I'm going to bring in some more silver as well with some thread a bit later. But I've got that silver on my background there just to draw a bit more in. And now I'm desperately trying to get my photo and those pattern paper sort of shapes straight on my page. My double-sided tape is really strong and once I've stuck it down it's really hard to get it off. So struggled a little bit there, but get them lined up in the end. And I've stuck those down flat. I don't want a massive amount of dimension on the page. My albums are looking really chunky at the moment. So as much as I love dimension and I do want to have a bit, I don't want to go too mad on my next few pages, just so I can fit some more pages in my 2021 albums. So I've stuck those down flat, but I have raised my photo up on foam. And then over on the left I've used a die cut that says Live Life Simply, and I've got a little white flower cluster there, and then some green leaves behind that just sort of tucked in. And then over on the right I've got a die cut with a butterfly that says Choose to be happy, and again I've stuck a green leafy kind of die cut sprig behind that one as well. And it was at this point that I decided the butterfly die cuts were just a little bit big. I wanted some smaller ones. I love having little small things on layouts just to add a little bit of subtle detail. So I've reached for the, I think it's the 4x6 elements paper, the B side again. I've cut these butterflies from. It's a whole sheet of butterflies. I think there's 2 in the collection. There's 4x6 elements is on white or off-white paper. There's another one on kind of like a bluey green coloured paper, but both covered in small butterflies. So I've fussy cut some of those out. I'm going to use a couple of the die cuts just for variation of size, but I love the way that these smaller ones look. And as I usually do with butterflies, I'm only sticking the bodies down, just getting them in place, holding them down with my tweezers there and leaving the wings flapping free. I just feel like this makes them look really realistic. It adds a bit of dimension to the page. Obviously once it's in a page protector in an album they'll get flattened out again, but if I ever decide to take it out and frame it or show anybody, they can sort of pop back up, and I just feel like it looks like a butterfly's landed on the page. So I just love the look of just sticking the bodies down. So I've used glossy accents for that. And then I've got my title stuck in place with glossy accents as well. That was initially, those are stickers, those title words are foam stickers, but I'd popped some talcum powder on the back of them just to remove the stickiness so I could move them around until I was happy with the position. So then I just had to add something to make them sticky again, and glossy accents were perfect for that. Just added some silver thread in a couple of places there. That is the We Are Memory Keepers Stitch Happy thread. Papermaze stock it in metallic silver and metallic gold, I believe. I've had both from Vanessa in the past, so hopefully she's got some in stock still. It's lovely for making thread clusters. It just wraps around your fingers lovely, and then you can kind of manipulate it a bit to give it a bit more sort of detail and interest, and it just brings another texture to the page, and I love how that looks. So I've added a couple of clusters either side of my photo, and I will bring in a third one in a minute. I'm just working on the bottom of my page. I felt like I needed something to ground the layout, and like those butterflies were flying out from something. And there was a sticker on the combo sticker sheet that had really caught my eye. It just says Moments, but I love the font that Simple Stories have used in this collection, and I just really love that sticker. And it's got a bit of like printed stitching on it and a couple of flowers or leaves and butterflies, and I just really wanted to get it on the page. So I'm going to add that at the bottom, but it needed something else down there as well. So I've reached for that Cherish Today paper again, that lovely checkered gingham. Because I've got it showing at the top with those two squares, I wanted a bit of it down the bottom as well. So I've just torn a strip or a little section. I love the torn edge, just adds a bit of texture and interest to the page. And then I've raised that sticker up with some foam behind it and got it stuck in place on top. And then I'm just adding that thread cluster I mentioned in down the bottom there, just so it's peeking up and just sort of bringing a bit more silver down to the bottom of the page. So I've kind of got a triangle of silver thread going on now. And I'm almost done here now, just a couple of finishing touches. I just want to add in a few more splatters. Now I've got all my embellishments in place, I can kind of see where there are areas where it's a bit bare or there's more splatters. I got my little boy come to help me there. So I just carefully and strategically place a few more of those silver drops. And then I'm going to come back in with that bundled sage distress ink again and just add a few more splatters of that. And then I think just whilst I'm letting those splatters dry off, I want to add a few hearts to the page. You get a load of little hearts in this collection, some in the die cut pack, some in the chipboard sheet, and I think there's some on the foam stickers and the sticker book as well. I just wanted to add a couple at the bottom there just to kind of extend that cluster. So I've added one either side of that Moments sticker. And then just going to give you some close-ups here before the final photos. But that is my layout finished. So I hope you've enjoyed this process and it's given you some inspiration for using this collection. It really is a beautiful collection. If you've not had a look at it on the Papermaze website, do head over and check it out because it's so pretty. Possibly one of my favourites from Simple Stories. And I'm so glad I got to work with it this month, and I've got loads of it left over, so this definitely won't be the last layout you see from me using this collection. But thanks again for joining me. I'll leave you with the rest of the close-ups and I'll pop a link in the description box below to the Papermaze store, so do head over and check out what Vanessa's got on offer at the moment. But thanks again and I'll see you next time.